I love this quote by Marv Dumpy. You want to make your players feel bulletproof. And like, what is that defined as, right? Because everyone has a different version of that. But that to me is like chest out, play big, swing hard, like go for it, swing for the fences, and instilling that belief in them and just knowing that, at the end of the day, numbers are important, but how you feel and how you want to leave feeling like is so much more important and valuable.
This is the Leave It Better podcast, powered by the Side Out Foundation. Here's your host, Hall of Fame coach, Janice Kruger.
Welcome to the Leave It Better podcast. My guest today is Jordan Larson. Our podcast with the Side Out Foundation is about interviewing inspirational people that are out there in the field that have demonstrated significance in their connection with people and making a difference in those lives and the journeys that happen. I'm going to start here with just a few things about Jordan. One, Jordan is a sports legend in the state of Nebraska. They refer to her sometimes as governor, and I don't know how well that's still sticking, but it's one of my favorite parts. Inducted into the Nebraska Athletic Hall of Fame in 2020. I consider her to be one of the greatest volleyball players in the U.S. and also a highly decorated player internationally, which I wish I knew more about.
Yeah.
I'll ask you about that because you had a lot of years there. As a Cornhusker, as a member of the team, she played in 2 championship NCAA matches, winning one in 2006. She comes from a small town in Hooper, Nebraska. The last time I checked on the population, we were a little under 800. And I can relate to that because my town in Nebraska, Randolph, is now somewhere around 800 as well. She had big dreams and a work ethic that earned her 4 Olympic medals. I wish they were all gold, right?
I wish they were all gold too.
And so overall, in her 16 years of competing for our U.S. national team, she's won a gold medal. She's won 2 silver medals and a bronze. You were selected as the team captain of the national team in 2017. Mm-hmm. And led the team right after that to, I believe, 4 international competitions. And this is something we as a volleyball community, general base, don't know enough about, honestly, of what you guys are doing out there. And overall, in your 16 years with them, you have somewhere in a safe, I'm sure, about 26 medals that you have earned.
That's crazy. I haven't counted them, so I'm glad that there's a number out there.
Yeah, I got it for you, 26.
Okay, awesome.
And you joined the Nebraska coaching staff last year. What a great season you guys had last year. And you're back working on bringing this team as far as you can take them in 2024. But welcome to the show.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me. And excited to dive in. This is awesome.
Yeah. So Jordan, how are you?
Yeah, that's a great question. A whirlwind for sure. I mean, I'm still, I think, kind of taking all in the fact that the Olympics happened. It still feels like it was yesterday. But I kind of hit the ground running as soon as it was finished. And I'm grateful for that as well. Being here at Nebraska and just seeing now having relationships with these girls from last year and now coming into the second year, it makes that even more sweeter. So being able to kind of pick up right where I left off has been great and happy to be back here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I did hear that he didn't let you go on that vacation to Mexico. And I was like, come on, John.
Yeah. It was it was kind of a late ask. And then I just was kind of like, well, maybe I'm just going to take it. And then he just sent me my schedule. So I was like, no, take it. So I get that too. I've also been away for a little bit of time, so I understand why he would want me back in the gym. So trying to understand and give grace as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, as we just talked briefly, and I actually don't want to go too much into the collegiate part yet, but you had a big win over Creighton in 5.
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago. Yeah, I watched it this morning. In-state Nebraska volleyball fans, what a treasure that was for everybody to see such a competitive match and great volleyball.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just to see how Kirsten's been doing there, and the program that she's built is really cool. And it's cool to see just how much the state truly does cherish really good volleyball. And I also just think really good kids. I mean, I had to guess that Kirsten's team is made up of a lot of great kids, and I can say the same about ours. And so it's really cool to see just what the environment does to them, and just what our fan base really does to them as well. So it's a really special place, and it's hard to put into words until you're really engulfed in all of it. But I think you're seeing that. Obviously what Nebraska has done like for a long time, but just now Creighton and, Wayne State, what they're doing. I mean, you saw the big volleyball day. I mean, it's how these programs are really growing within the state. So it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. So in your impressive career with the Olympic team, you were in 4 different cycles. And I'm sure in some way, and I felt like I saw this a little this year, but have you seen the level change in the international volleyball? I know collegiately here in the States and youth volleyball, everything is just growing, maturing, getting better, teaching's better, coaching's better. What's that like? What was that like in the international scene for you? And you played in some pretty amazing high level international competition.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I do think the game is evolving, and I do think that we have been kind of trending towards a little bit to how the men are playing, right? Like, I think it's gotten faster and over the years, and obviously more physical, and, getting better at reading the game, right? And reading the game faster. Like, what is the game showing you, and how are we not just relying on the scouting report, and actually what's transpiring in front of us, and how we can read and react to that. And
good point.
I do see a little bit at the college level. I think we are making changes, but I do think that there's still a big gap from when players exit college to how many years it kind of takes to kind of catch up to the international level of speed and timing. And, it's quicker than people think. And so, but I love just the style of play that's happening internationally, and the talent that's coming up, and not just with us, but other teams, right? Like Turkey was a force to be reckoned with this last quad, and Italy, obviously you saw them in the finals. I mean, just
amazing.
Physical beings, and but obviously great humans as well. And so, and to see that, I mean, even Italy, it's like they had never medaled, right? Like, what a phenomenal way to, like, for them, it was due for them. And I'm just knowing them as people too, I'm like stoked for them, right? And so I just think the game is evolving, and people are also open to learning more. So I think we're sharing more. It feels internationally, and maybe it's just because social media, there's more access, but it's really cool to see the expansion. And I do think that now with the games being in LA, I think you're going to see a lot of our players retiring, right? And there's going to be a massive new look and turnover, I think, on the international stage for us, and which makes me even more excited to see these young athletes to get their chance and to be able to compete as well.
Yeah. Ever any aspirations of getting into that training pipeline for the national team?
Yeah, totally. I'm honestly open. I've learned in life that if I try to plan anything, it's led to disappointment mainly. So I'm like, well, just live for today, and that's all I can control. And so, but I'm definitely open. And I think I just love being around people that like don't know all the answers, but willing to find them. And what does it go about doing that? And that's asking a lot of questions and getting into the nitty gritty. And maybe it's on a tangent that doesn't really matter, but at the end you're like, well, maybe I learned something today, So I love a lot of those conversations, and getting to know different perspectives on how they see the game. So, and sometimes that is at the international level. It just happens to be there. So,
yeah. There's so much enrichment in your world, in your life, especially when you love the sport of volleyball. And I think you're pretty much a consumer of watching. Now you're probably watching a lot of Nebraska and the Big Ten and all that stuff, but I am thrilled at how much volleyball is on TV right now. And I turn it on Tuesday night, and I'm going between 4 or 5 games and just going, wow, this is so fun.
It is so fun. I know. I was like, usually this is like an NFL game or something, and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I'm just like, yeah, like we said, it's like, I turned it on last night and there's 2 matches, and I'm like, and it pops right up on my thing, and I'm like, I don't even have to search for it. Like, that is great, So And I am just so excited for our sport and our youth. I think of myself when I was 12 and I'm like, I want to be a pro, and I had no clue what it entailed. And so now the fact that there's access to that and it's coming right in people's backyards, like they don't have to even move. And I think I even think the coverage at the Olympics, right? Peacock did such a great job of like laying out the schedule. These are the times, and people were able to watch and at a time that wasn't, strictly in the middle of the night, So I thought the streaming was way more accessible, which I think also excited people as well.
Yes. And I loved seeing them on the Today Show. And I did notice you were missing there because you decided to run into a pole or something over in London. What's that about?
Yeah, no, my teammate and I were coming back to the village, and our Uber driver, he was slowing down. We weren't going fast. I bet we were going maybe 25, and there was the pole was right in the middle of the street, and you're kind of supposed to go right or left, and he just chose to go straight. So it wasn't bad. It could have been way worse. So we're grateful for that. But yeah, I probably could have made the New York trip, but I was like, I don't know if I'm concussed, I'm dehydrated. I had a headache, but I was like, I just would rather go home and make sure I'm safe. So, but my other teammate, poor Micah, she got the brunt end a little bit. So,
really? See, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, she had a couple stitches, and she fracturing a part of her nose. So, but she's on the mend now. Everything is okay. But yeah, it was okay. Yeah, it was a little bit worse for her. So, yeah.
How was the driver?
He was fine. Yeah, he was fine. Again,
I get the airbag.
That didn't even deploy. So that just shows you we weren't even going that fast. So I think he might have just fallen asleep. It was pretty late in the evening, so he might have just fallen asleep, but all is okay. Yeah. I was like, who wants to go to the Today Show anyways? I was like, Uber driver, it's fine.
So I've heard you talk about this a little bit, all the advancements that you have now with our sport and being able to train and see and learn, and to see statistics and see, where people are hitting, so many advances. Mm-hmm. That was so different than when you were there. I mean, when we were spicing like VHS tapes and sending them, around the country.
Seriously.
So what's that like for you now? Is that something, how much of your time is spent there? And then how much of the really important stuff, person to person in the gym, teaching, guiding, how's those two things kind of blend together for you right now?
I probably should look at the numbers more than I do, to be honest. I think that it's, and people maybe argue this too, I think volleyball can be a game of momentum, right? And momentum can be described in a lot of different ways as well, whether that's actual, like a momentum shift in the game, that could be like emotional momentum shift relationally, that could be intangibles that you don't think on the ball or off the ball. Like there's a lot of little nuances that actually help you win a game long term that kind of you don't see on the stat sheet. And for me personally, I've learned that for me to be successful as a sole athlete, if I get caught up in the numbers, I would have never been where I was at, because I don't jump the highest, don't hit the hardest. I have these limitations that would paint me into this quote unquote box per se. And I've had to learn that I can win a lot of matches by just using my head and how my brain thinks and the will to want to do something different. And so I think now as a coach, instilling that, numbers are important to some degree, right? If we're not matching these or meeting these metrics, right, it's a good parameter to be around, but there's a lot of things that go into that. And ultimately, I just would want our players to feel, and how I wanted to feel was just like, I love this quote by Marv Dunphy. You want to make your players feel bulletproof. And like, what is that defined as, right? Because everyone has a different version of that. But that to me is like chest out, play big, swing hard, like go for it, swing for the fences, and instilling that belief in them, and just knowing that, at the end of the day, numbers are important, but how you feel and how you want to leave feeling like is so much more important and valuable.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm in the same boat as you. I tried to do that number thing, and I need to see the game. I need to be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And I think, Karch may have described you once as, he thought your court vision was amazing.
Yeah.
Like what you see way ahead of everybody else, and they're going, what the hell does she see? What's coming? And I totally get that. And have your players at Nebraska gotten comfortable and kind of looking to you for that kind of, input that will help them grow that aspect of their game, to see the game differently or better?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, unfortunately, like I've been trying to break this wall down of, I think there's still a layer of intimidation, right? Without even not necessarily speaking, right? It's just kind of, there's this layer of boundary that I think that they're still getting comfortable with. And I'm also still trying to kind of meet them where they're at, and trying to understand, like, am I giving them too much? Am I giving them too little? Like, and trying to find that balance. But I do think that there is a general curiosity around, well, how, and what did you do, and how did you do? But I don't know if they necessarily have the freedom to be within those parameters yet, or can think that, like, I wouldn't say can't think that, but just like the freedom to have that space to think like that, or to be open to that versus, and again, the capacity, I'm not sure either. So I think it's a trial and error that they're all trying to work through as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I did see some of that with one of your matches earlier this year, where I wanted more of that, like, just run with it, go with your heart, see what you see, and just be an athlete, be a competitor, and be a teammate, and run for the fences, right?
Exactly. And that's why it's like the art of coaching, right? I think there's just way more than just the X's and O's. And it's a fun thing to try and tackle every day. It's like, okay, well, how can I be good today? Not only for myself, but then just for them and what they need, and how to navigate what they need, because that can change by minute or by, like, you really never know. But I love the fact that it's just always, you're trying to solve something. It's great.
It's the youth. It's the, I always just refer to this as it's a roller coaster ride. When I started preseason, and it was just like,
Yep.
And once in a while you'll hit where you get a good steady climb. But as a coach, you're just kind of buckle in, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and let it roll.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that, I don't know. I think that's what makes it all more fun. I don't know. It's like an athlete too. Like, you fall in love with the process, even though some days it's mundane, but like the process is like, makes it all worth it in the end, one of my mentors, Sue Enquist, she talked about, like, I think most of my life, till she kind of came into my life, really honestly, it was chasing this idea of championship or a medal, right? Like, this gold medal is like, God, it's there. I can see it, And like I feel like my value was kind of caught up in that, of just like, if I don't achieve that, then, I'm less than, or I'm unfinished almost. And like, she's like, but the medal is like literally a snapshot in time. Like, it's literally 20 seconds. You get to celebrate it, more or less. And then the moment passes you by, and it's like, well, I could have said that, but I'm just like, as an athlete, when you're so fixated on that end result, you forget that the day-to-day actually is the championship. It is the things that why you do it. And I love that perspective. And it's helped me so much to kind of detach from this quote unquote, what we seem or deem as success, because success could be defined on many different levels, Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're probably a pretty good expert you talk about the process, and every day is the championship game time. It's today I'm doing just what I'm going to do, in any competition. What a healthy way to approach the game, to approach life, really.
Yeah.
So is that how you're going after everything in your world right now, Jordan?
Yeah, I'm really trying to. And I found that it has just led to like a deep, true happiness, like within, and I think maybe that's where it all needed to start to begin with. But I think this world creates, not in a bad way, these external validations that can be dangerous. And don't get me wrong, you want to strive for success, and what does that look like? But I think internally is where it all is found, and I don't know if I fully understood that until kind of certain life events had to happen for me to like understand that. But I'm grateful for that. And I know that it's also not unfinished. I think none of us are unfinished. Right. And there's never this end goal of like, I've arrived, and like, it just doesn't exist. And so I just sit in gratitude so much because I've just been surrounded by absolute greatness, like my whole life. I can't think of any moment that I haven't like been around someone that I'm like, oh, that nugget is amazing. Like, can I say that? Like, I'm sure, like, it's just like, there's opportunities to be surrounded by awesome people, and what you learn and how you dive into that is huge.
Yeah. I think, Sue Inquist is somebody that used to be the head coach at UCLA in softball. And I've followed her way back then when she was doing crazy, amazing things. And when she started to work with the U.S. national team, I absolutely could see she has such a way about her to help people see. I don't know.
Yes.
Just see.
See, exactly. When you think that way, you're like, well, yeah, of course you see. Yeah. Yep.
Right. And to just kind of like get in touch with things that are truly important and let go of those things that are truly not.
Yeah.
She had some pretty high praise to say about you. She called you a generational athlete, unwavering in need for improvement, rooted in curiosity. So as a kid, were you sort of that curious kid all the time?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely for sure developed over time. But I think being an only child, I would come home and like, I didn't have a sibling that I could like even experience life through them, or even have ideas to like bounce off through them. Right. So it was my parents. And so I remember there were times that I would get made fun of a lot actually as a kid. And I would come home and just like almost a state of confusion of just like, one, I didn't understand what they were talking about half the time, or, and I was just so just unaware. And so I would be asking my parents, well, what does this mean? And how does this mean? And, and I just was instilled at a young age that there was no dumb questions and ask, and it doesn't hurt to ask. And so I think that my whole life, I've always wanted to know why, even if it's like the writing is on the wall, but like, I want to know why. Just tell me, like, I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to go against what you're saying. But if I understand the why, then I can then best attack it. And then maybe I could actually find a hack of how to do it better. Or, my brain just kind of went there. And so, which I'm immensely grateful for my parents for their patience of having to listen to me ask why all the time. But to just kind of not like diminishing that curiosity phase, because I think that's really translated well for me over the years.
Mm-hmm. Just for a second there, when you were talking about that, I was picturing Steve Jobs in his basement, and his mom yells down and go, "What are you doing down there?" He goes, "Thinking."
Yes. It's true.
You're kind of like that for the volleyball world. I am so proud of you. And my brother raised his family in Fremont, Nebraska, and he would talk about you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm well aware of Jordan Larson and who she is. You talk about being surrounded by really special, intelligent, top of the tree in terms of understanding the game and growing people like Karch, people like Hugh McCutcheon, John Cook, and then Sue Inquist and her abilities and more, like you mentioned, Marv Dunphy. I don't even know how to ask you questions about what that was like to have that level. I mean, you had to be just dancing.
Yeah. And I think that it was more out of like respect and admiration than anything, of just like, I think the greatest gift was one when Karch, like obviously Hugh taking over as the national team coach was awesome. Like, I think to this day, I think he's probably for me, the best technical coach I've ever had, right? Like I had to change a lot when I first came to the national team. And if it wasn't for those technical changes, like for sure, I wouldn't be the player I am today. And then secondly, Karch was an assistant coach. So I feel like even though we don't want to say there's a difference between assistants and head, there is. As a player, there's a layer of intimidation, whether you want it there or not. Like it's hard to just go up and, hey, what's going on? Like it's just not a natural thing, where I feel like Karch as an assistant coach allowed me to question him in like the best way. Hey, Karch, like, what did you think here? Or why did you do this? Or tell me what you were thinking. And it was on the court, off the court stuff too. Like I respect him as a husband to Jana, and like, just, hey, Karch, like, relationally, like, what do you think of this? And like, I just was able to pick his brain, that when he then became head coach, we already had a general foundation that led me even to more like, all right, Karch, I want to expand as a leader. Like, what does that mean? I'm more of a lead by action, but then if I want to be more of a vocal leader, like, how can I do that? And then having an open door policy on there too, right? Like Hugh being able to, like, I can ask questions, Karch saying, Marv was a tricky one for me. He intimidated me quite a bit. And you probably laugh at that now, but I just was always a little scared to come talk to him. But man of very few words, which makes him that even
more difficult.
Exactly. And usually he's the one asking me questions. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't how this works, Marv. And I also think too, players, some of the best players internationally that I've been able to play with, Gamova, Maya Poyak, Amaya Ojanovic, Tiana Boskovic, like watching them, observing them play. And I'm like, well, how did you do that? And how can I do that? Like, and so when you just watch and observe, and then there's also the spectrum of where maybe there's behaviors you don't want to be, or what you
right.
like, right? And then I don't want to be that. So I'm going to stop talking. But the point is I just absorb, and then try to apply. Yeah.
I interviewed Hugh McCutcheon. My last interview was with him, and what a fun time. I read his book, and I'm just, he's such a awesome guy. And then to have him take the motor learning and the everything and just kind of like chunk it together in this book. I said, when are you going to start having an online class? I mean, people could really benefit and love learning all about this stuff. But
totally,
I said, hey, this is when the podcast gets ready to release, I'm going to let you know. And I said, hey, do you got any questions for Jordan? Yeah. You got anything you want to say about Jordan? And he goes, nope, just that she's great. Oh. That's all you need to know.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
He's that kind of guy. He's a great guy. Yeah. So anything more that you would like to share with us about that Olympic time? I mean, I grew up as a kid wanting to go to the Olympics, and I was in this little baby town and too early in my world or this world. But, for kids that are looking at that, or college athletes or athletes in general, what advice do you have for them?
I really tried to apply more mentally that if I want to show up in quote unquote, what we put on the big moments, right? Like championship, semifinals, all those things, right? We deem as these big moments, which they are. But when you think about it, it's actually the same thing you do every day. It's just putting on a stage of people that are watching. There's more people watching. And I tried to attack every day as if I'm literally suiting up for a gold medal. And now, is that actually attainable within practice? No. But the mental check-in that I had with myself is where I tried to set the standard for myself every day. And within that whole picture of the Olympic journey is like, that's how I tried to and had to execute daily in order to find my place within the gym. Because if you let the competition of like, the starting position is never for sure, because you got 3 people, 4 people behind, 6 people behind you that are just chomping the bit. So that gym will eat you up. And so it's almost this internal battle of like, where can I push myself, but stay rooted in what is right now. And that's applying every day as its own entity. But it is the greatest thing to be able to represent your country and to do it on the biggest stage and to do it in a place that is safe. And, I can't imagine the people that are sacrificing for our country. Like it really puts things in perspective. I get to wear the flag in a way different manner, but like there are people that wear the flag to protect us. And it's so, I don't know, it's hard to really truly put into words, but and then when you dream of it as a kid and then it comes true, it's like, it doesn't even seem real some days, but I'm trying to encompass everything. But I think the mental aspect of how to approach it, but then also just sitting in this like celebration of like, it's way bigger than me. And it's an honor and privilege, because it's like, I mean, even take you, for example, like you wanted to do all these things, but maybe that didn't happen. But like playing for you and playing in that honor, because there's a lot of people that want that chance and don't, and not to take it for granted, because it's not something that comes around every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm also on the bandwagon to get this, our anthem to be sung loudly.
Yes.
Now we have some college teams that will do that.
Yeah.
At Maryland, they used to do that. I love that comment, and maybe that should be something we strive to push out there and see if we can make happen.
Yeah, it's just always fascinating to me. I mean, when we were playing France in France, I mean, they were louder than the music, and I'm just like, this immense pride that you can feel like perpetrating everywhere. And it's like, gosh, like the deep passion that I'm like, I'm proud to be an American. Like, where is the, like I want people to feel that, and like to sing that. But I also know that looks differently for other people. They can have the pride, but maybe the voice doesn't follow, which is okay.
Maybe so.
Everybody.
They can dance. They can dance.
Good, yeah.
So, you're a 6'2", super fit, well-trained volleyball player who can block, hit various shots, got all the shots, pass, play defense. Those kind of players, I love seeing this perfect package of a volleyball player. And there for a while, I don't know where it is now, but I felt too much. We were putting people in corners and kind of limiting them. And I really just want to let them go. Yep. I want them to get the whole piece, because internationally, even substitution is very different. So to get at that level, what could you say just about that aspect of your game, how you went about attacking that? Was that just something you were it was gifted to you kind of in who you are? I mean, I know it was hard work. There's nothing that you have attained that has not been hard work.
I think it's a little bit of both. I do think that I have been gifted with some athletic ability, but with the athletic ability, it's ability to adapt and adjust. And again, I knew that I wasn't going to make it solely on attacking. Like that just wasn't in the cards for me. And I had to figure out, and I also think mentally too, and which I'm kind of also trying to instill in our athletes, is that if one area of your game isn't going, quote unquote, how you feel or deem you want it to go, there's 10 other ways that you can contribute. And even not even on the stat line. How are you a good teammate? Are you engaging? Are you celebrating each other's successes? Like those things actually could make up for pretty average play, right? And so I found that like if one area wasn't going well, that I could mentally check in, not that I wasn't checking out here, but just mentally be able to be in a place where I'm like, okay, well, right now this team, I'll take the World Championships, for example, final of World Championships. I don't even know what I was hitting, but it wasn't great. And I kind of got in the eye club of like, Jordan, you're not producing, like you're going to get pulled. But our team didn't need me to score points. We were scoring points just fine because we were passing unreal. So Jordan, your job is to pass. We need you to pass this ball. And so that's just one example that I think every match has its needs, and where can you find how to bring success to that? And I feel like that was a lot of trial and error for me over the years. And I had to figure out how to get each part of my game at a capacity that I could kind of dip and dive in every single facet. But again, it's more of the mental. And even now I'm just like some of our players, I'm like, man, you get your mind right, like nothing can stop you. Like it is, I would hate to say this number, it's like 80% of the game. I'm like, if you just let your body do the work, like take over, it's your mind that's stopping you.
Yeah. You guys have some seriously gifted athletes. That's no doubt. I realize that's a lot of an individual's work to try to find that, but the guidance that you can provide to try to help that, what's that look like when you're, trying to get them to bridge into that mental piece and to grow there?
I think one, it's just giving them space to speak. Tell me how you are. Where are you right now? And where can we work from? And then also acknowledging that I don't have all the answers. There are a lot of smarter people out there, meaning sports psychs that have like actual tools that can provide these athletes with abilities to get their activation level down, like breathing. There's focal point situations where they can let their mind get back to the here and now, because the more your thoughts are drifting, the more you're not present in the action, and then therefore you can't move forward at all. So, but for me, it's just providing that foundation for them of just like, hey man, like I see you, like it's hard. Nobody's not saying it's not hard, but can we sit in what this is, but not sit in it too long and keep moving through? But it's a constant conversation in my head too, of just like, am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? But I am also just erring on the side of listening to them. Like they tell you what they need sometimes, and we're just unwilling to listen. And I think that it's a fine balance of giving them a leash, but then also, hey man, like this is also the way, like this way works too. So you want them to buy in and feel like it's part of them as well.
Yeah. All great stuff. I used to like to get into that place where, you'd hear what they had to say, and then you'd want to hear what their thoughts are on how to correct and how to like educate themselves. And like you said earlier, be curious about it, and they'll grow, really from that point.
Well, and just to kind of touch on that a little bit too, is I think that at the end of the day, like they're out there, they have to learn how to be problem solvers, right? So if you can teach them how to get to the solution faster, like meaning like not giving the answers, but getting them to think critically about how to get to the answer, that process all of a sudden decides to like it's sped up because you're giving them the tools to get there, but allowing the space for them to get there on their own.
Yeah. The collegiate volleyball season, Big Ten volleyball. Woo, a lot of teams you guys get to play.
Yep.
And I'm looking at, you got Arizona State, you got Wichita State, and who else? Oh, yeah, Stanford.
Oh, yeah, Stanford. Oh, yeah, them. the trees. Yep.
And the college game, coming off the Olympics, going into the college game. What are you most excited about and seeing with the start of this year? Wow, there's a lot of great competition. There's a lot of great teams, a lot of super good coaching. What's exciting you about, and what are you seeing with this 24 season?
Just for us, I think it's not getting caught up on last year. I mean, I think there was a lot of great successes that we had, and I think if anything, I've learned that as much as we want it to look the same, it never does. And so letting go of what that is, it was a great year, a great success, but we are here now, and we have a lot, like you said, a lot of great things coming. I'm really proud of our team so far. We've obviously had a little bit of a hiccup with SMU, but SMU played fantastic. So and sometimes you have to give credit to the other team, and obviously we deserve to win always, but and also they do too. But I think they played lights out that day. And so you have to give them credit. So, but I think for us, it's just like, we can't get too far ahead. And like you said, there's a lot of great teams coming. There's a lot of great coaching, but all we can control is the now. And right now we have practice at 2:30 and we're going to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No,
we're getting closer.
No, but I'm more saying just like, we just have to be good today. And if we're good today, then we'll hopefully be good tomorrow, and but the rest will right itself. And I'm just confident in our ability to just compete. I really believe that we have great pieces, and I see glimpses of that, and I know that the more we work together and play together, that's going to shine even more as we go on. Yeah.
I think one of the things, just with all the competition level and the teams, and just to keep those athletes kind of fresh within reason. I mean, you're in the competitive season,
Totally.
It's tough.
Yep.
But to keep them healthy it's also a little bit of a science that you have to take care of, so that you keep them out there training and practicing. I know some folks, I have two additional things. And one is, I think maybe I'm just curious about the day in the life. Like, what is a day like? Like, what's your day like? Are you still training yourself physically? You wake up, read a book. Like, what's your day look like?
Yeah. So I will actually start Love here November 11th, a little preseason, but to ramp up for that, I took 2 weeks off after the Olympics of really no physical activity. I was probably supposed to be doing a little something, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. Yeah. But I was still coming into the office. So I just started back working out. So now I go 4 times a week. So that's every morning at 7 a.m. Then I'm usually in the office by 9. And then I'm here all the way till the end of practice. There's usually time for a lunch break. And then I just try to really check in with our players and go from there. So that's a lot of what it is. So
yeah. Love those days.
Yep.
I would like to ask you, we're the Side Out Foundation. We work within the sport of volleyball, and we've done our research in metastatic breast cancer, which is the stage at which there is no current cure. Lots of great medications, treatment solutions coming along, but volleyball teams across the country are supporting us with that. And I know that affected you as a very young person with your mother, Kay.
Yep.
And if you could share whatever you would like to share about that experience, and maybe for people that are going through it or people that are choosing to support us, that want to be able to help in any way that they can. I would like to hear what that was for you.
Yeah. Like you said, it was, when she first got diagnosed, I was very young and, I think ignorant to all of it. To be honest, I didn't really know. And I was a selfish high school kid that I just, I didn't fully understand or grasp and also how she framed it to me, it was like, oh, it's fine. That's fine. I'm just going to go get treatments and that's what I'm going to do. And she was just, excuse my language, a badass. So it didn't surprise me that she was having that approach. Right. And so, fast forward a little bit. And then obviously she got re-diagnosed when I was in college. And, that one hit me more, obviously. I think being a little bit more grounded as to where I was in life, first and foremost, and then understanding that there wasn't going to be the result that we ultimately wanted. But again, how she approached it and how she framed it, like it never felt like it was ever going to be the end that we thought it was going to happen. And so if I had to say, one piece of advice or encouragement is just like, keep finding answers and keep searching for the right treatment plan. I think my mom, she loved where she went the first time. But I think the second time something else was needed. And so we actually chose to go to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, which was based out of Chicago. Mm-hmm. First of all, my mom hated flying. So the fact that she even decided to sign up for this, says a lot, but I think what I loved about the cancer treatment centers was, one, they treated her like a queen. So she flew and then she got picked up by a limo. And so I think that part of it was fun for her. Mm-hmm. But they treated her as a person, the whole part. Like, she met with a psychologist, she got acupuncture, like there was like a whole team around her nutrition. And like, it was just a full experience that I feel like she was also able to cope with kind of what was happening for her and her experience, and then also as a family. And so I felt like it helped us, if you could even prepare for what's going to happen. Right. It helped you prepare. And so even though the day was hard, I feel like we had all done the work to somewhat get to a place of acceptance and of what is. And, I mean, it sucks at the end of the day. It all sucks. And there's no great way to go about it. But I thought that she did the best she could with what it was. And I know I'm forever grateful for people investing in breast cancer and the advances that we do have. It's frustrating that we haven't found anything to cure it, because it seems like, man, a lot of time has passed and it feels like we're moving inches. So it's definitely a part of my story and something that I always try to keep in the forefront of my mind and what I do. So, yeah.
You don't normally grow up trying to think about, different levels of breast cancer and this and that. And when it hits a family, there's just so much that you have to learn. And one of the pieces with us, with the foundation, is people don't really understand when I say metastatic or end stage breast cancer. And for us, what we're trying to do is give those solution options to people when they hit that right away.
Yep.
You can come to us. It's a free thing. And you can get the treatment you need ASAP and get on it, extend that life, make it a better life. And so that's the one thing that we're working on. I want to thank you for being on today. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
I truly think you are a treasure to the world of volleyball. And I hope you will keep gifting that out there, because it is so special, Jordan. And wish you the best of luck with the collegiate season.
Thank you.
Go Huskers.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm a proud Husker. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. This has been awesome. And just thanks for the platform, right? I think this continues to make the sport grow as well. So thank you. And I do want to keep pouring into the sport. It's given me so much. And I hope that people, if they're ever around me, that they feel that. And if they don't, I hope they tell me. So, because ultimately that's kind of what I'm truly passionate about. And I love it so much. And I've fallen head over heels in love with the sport. So I can't wait to continue to grow it.
Yeah. And I am sure you will.
Thank you for listening. Please share your feedback with us at side-out.org.